Hello class. If you've added texture like I have in the past couple videos to your grass for a site plan like I've shown, or even experimented with it on your own, you're already going to probably produce better site plans than what most other people will do. But there's still something, I spend a lot of time in these videos not adding texture at different scales, making sure the grass has different hues sort of across the whole thing. But the reality is, even since I've applied all the same things to every single object that's grass, there's still similarity between all of the objects. The only thing that's really changing is because of the size of the elements change the rendering. So in this video, we're going to learn how to use the layer control, not object control, to then further change the hue across objects. I might show a little trick on the end of that as well, because it's not just hue, it can be texture, it can be anything. And the trick is, this is sort of, I don't think is really often known, is that although I have everything selected on the layer, if I change anything, I change all the objects. There's actually a way to control the layer and add things to the layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my layers box and click this little circle right over here. And it looks, the exact same things look like it was selected, but if you notice my little circle gets highlighted right here, that means I'm affecting the layer. And I was just in appearances when I started this video, but now when I go back to appearances, you can see there's nothing there, because all the object appearances are on the object, not on the layer. Now I'm looking at the layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add objects to the layer that will only show up and will only affect objects on that layer. It's a great little trick. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to add a new fill. And when I add this fill, we're going to see it's just going to turn it, everything on that layer is going to become that color. Obviously, I don't want it to be black or the stark gray color that it is, but that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to go and I'm going to change this to gradient, because I want the color, I want the hues to change across the drawing. And so the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to make my grass to be a little more vibrant. So I'm going to make it yellow, because yellow to green makes it more vibrant. So I'm going to set both of my grades to yellow. So right now there is no gradient across it, because I don't care about the hue. What I want to gradiate is transparency. So I'm going to select one or the other, right or left, and I'm going to come down to this opacity and set one side to 0. And I will come over to the other side and I will probably reduce that as well. I don't know what I want it at. We'll come here and see. Probably going to have to be quite transparent, quite honestly. So they will go here. Yeah, lighter than that. Let's try 10. And I can always play with this. So 10 starting to work. You can definitely quite clearly see, hopefully on the YouTube video, that this is sort of yellower than on this side. And I can come into my appearances and I can also come and change the opacity of this object too if I still think it's too strong on one side. So either place you could change it, the opacity in that gradient section, or not. Certainly one side needs to be 0. Well, it doesn't have to be, but it helps. And so this is a great way to do a gradient from a color to transparent, is using the gradient tool, set them in the same color in that way. And then of course I can change the direction. Maybe I want it to go from that way to that way. I can't remember what I had in my original drawing that I showed way at the beginning of this, but we'll go here. And now I've sort of, I've come through and I've added that. You could go ahead and add any number of fills or any other effects that you might want to sort of work on this, and I think that's a very basic way to go. And we see the hue change across it, but I could do things like, let's see, I could add texture to the layer as a whole too, although a word of warning, sometimes it really makes it think, and it might even rasterize too much, but sometimes it's the only way to get a certain look. If you're really trying to accomplish something, maybe it's the only way to do it. It's just sort of fun to see what layer control can actually do, because again, these are not on objects. So in this case, if I want to add texture to a layer, I'm going to select the layer under the appearances, having the whole layer still selected. I'm going to go to effects, and to run almost any of these Photoshop effects, I first need to either add a grain, texture, or a film grain. So I'll start with film grain. and we can see that it's adding a film grain. Again, to a certain degree, some of this stuff would work on the object layer too. It might be the better spot, but it will produce a different effect. So I'll add a film grain, and we can see that there was a slight change. You might not quite see it there on YouTube, but I'll do the next one. I'm actually going to go to brush stroke, and I'm going to go to angled stroke, which is something I like to do a lot as a texture as well. And we can see up close here, it's sort of got this angled. I usually set my angled strokes to one direction, and then you can set the sharpness as you desire. We'll just set OK. Woo, my screen just went black. It's just thinking with this bar. I don't know if you see what you guys see on your recording there, but there we go. So now that's another way of sort of taking this thing again here in appearances and applying a texture. In fact, what I could do is I could even take these guys and I could drop them into this fill if I wanted to. And what that's going to do is it's going to, because this is a gradient, it'll affect the stroke more on the side that I have the gradient on than off, so that it sort of changes the texture across the plane in the same direction. So there's lots of different things you can do. Those are just some of the fun tricks to really just make it look interesting. So there you go.